John, FBI.
Liz, Air National Guard.
Phil, FBI.
Mary, FBI. I happened to be in DC that day and in the Hoover Building, which is right on Pennsylvania Avenue, bore a little bit of witness to like the march down to the Capitol, and it was a galling day.
So I served 7 years in the National Guard. So I was sworn oath to protect and defend the Constitution, and I served 3 deployments to the Middle East. And so seeing like how things devolved on January 6th was something I had seen before in other countries. And then watching sort of the rotunda flood with an angry mob and seeing the doors breached and seeing Capitol Police officers beaten and overrun. And I was just really struck by the historic nature of what was unfolding that day. I think horrified was like the best word to describe what I had seen.
I was assigned to the FBI's office in Mexico City. As the news was coming out about what was going on there, it became apparent that this was something that has never been seen in the history of our country before, and the sheer violence, the disrespect for the rule of law, it just was just the most god-awful thing I can remember seeing in my lifetime.
But I was in an unusual position where I was actually commenting on it, live for the news networks. And, so getting their feeds, which were really how the whole country saw this unfold, and the brutality, and the things being said, the things on the signs, and the chanting, that they wanted to kill and cause harm. The sadness coming in later, like sort of responding to it as I would as an FBI agent, thinking about what could be done, how all the tactics involved in securing people and providing for kind of that close quarter protection that we saw heroically done. But then in the aftermath, thinking of just what a breach this was, not just of the Capitol, but of our democracy and of this sacrosanct moment of transferring power peacefully. And then just the deep pain of it not being honored.
On that day, the mob did not differentiate between left and right, and it feels like that's been sort of written out of the history, where this was not a partisan issue. It was left and right and the peaceful transfer of power at risk.
For me, it's like the standards that we've broken. We have demonstrated the peaceful transfer of power every election, and that is one thing that is like distinctive for the U.S. and our democracy. And that was interrupted. And it was done in such a violent, destructive, really just irresponsible way, because it didn't have to happen, but it was encouraged. And then we reviewed it, we analyzed it, we studied it, we held hearings, we brought evidence, and people testified to what they knew and gathered the facts. And then we didn't do anything with those. And I think that's maybe the most disturbing part of it.
Before January 6th and maybe a few years prior, it didn't matter if you were Republican or Democrat, right? You could have those discussions with people. I could be on a different side of an issue than someone else, but I will still get along with them at the end of the day. And now it seems to be dividing people more. What's been a strength of yours is people need to feel safe, and in a safety realm, that includes being respectful of other people and honoring their right to free speech as well as their right to have different opinions.
Just coming together again as a country, respecting the others' viewpoints and disagreements, and try to find a semblance of coalescing.
I was 12 weeks pregnant on January 6th, and I remember, just thinking to myself, what is this country becoming, that my husband and I are bringing a child into this world? But I think what gives me hope is seeing people understand this is our environment and being willing to step up to the plate to lead differently.
Yeah, these notions of like what drew us to service. It's an element of being patriotic, really loving this country and what it stands for. But what that really means is that you are serving, that you are putting the country before yourself. It's really critical now that we have people who understand what the Constitution means and what it means to bring honor to that and serve in ways that create the atmosphere where we're not so divided.
I think a lot about Eugene Goodman, who was the Capitol Hill police officer,
Yes.
who was an Army veteran. He pushed a protester and got the mob to follow him away from the chamber.
Yeah.
It was just such a brave, courageous, genius idea to save countless lives. Those are the people I want to see in the Capitol. The people who are willing to be courageous and take a stand.
I don't think there's going back to what we were. I think, though, we're more knowledgeable, and I think that we have to get the country back on track of we're better than this. The reality of what had happened, we really almost lost our country that day.